Well, welcome back to Black and White. I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mark. And today's topic is mixed couples and their children. And I'll start this out with, when I was growing up, it was a huge no. You don't mix the races. And it was for several reasons. One was because people didn't like whites and blacks interracial couples. They didn't like it. That was the opening line. Then what they started doing was they started saying, well, when you mix blacks and whites together, now you got an issue with whether or not if something happens to them as far as an illness or a disease, that you might not be able to counteract whatever the disease is. And I remember a baseball player where they actually pushed that issue. They said that his child wouldn't have died had the kid not been a mixed race kid. Okay? And again, when I was coming up, it was called race trading. And you were a trader of your race by going and being with a person other than your race.
Well, Mark, in the black community, we also had that issue where, we didn't want the mixing of the races. But I think that goes further back in history to back into the slavery time when, you had the slave master and he was secretly messing with the black slave mistress and vice versa. And you come forward in history and segregation was a major issue, and you just didn't mix races. So we had that as a background, and even before we were around, to say, we didn't want mixing the races. You couldn't live in my community. I remember the Archie Bunker show back in the 70s where, we had one family, the Jeffersons, moving into the family,
right,
into the neighborhood, and
right,
what a major big issue
right,
that was. Even growing up, there were certain areas that we couldn't go in from the New York area, and right, you couldn't walk through certain parts of Staten Island. It's always been there. Now, if you look around today, we've got a lot of interracial couples, and it's the adjustment of society that has sort of allowed it, and that creates then your mixed children, and eventually what will happen is there won't be pure black and pure white.
Right.
So that's just where we're headed.
Right. And again, where I'm coming from with this interracial stuff is that it's evolved. Actually, it's evolved from when we were kids. When I was younger, man, that was like the biggest. You do not cross that line. And as time has progressed, it's just like you said, you see it. I mean, it's there. It's part of life. And but again, some of the questions were brought up back in the beginning was how are the children accepted? Do the kids feel like they're outsiders? Can the kids feel like they're part of a black and a group and a white group? Do they have to act a certain way when they're with a certain group? Do they have to carry themselves in a certain manner over here, and yet over here they're expected to be different? I mean, I think that there's a confusion based on the fact that the kids are actually mixed, that they're not sure what direction they go. And one of the problems with that is in America, one drop of black blood makes you black. And because the law. Which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. How in the hell can that be? If your parent, if mom's white and dad's black, you're mixed. Okay, you're not black. You can't be. But again, like you said, it's the law, and I'm telling you, it really, this has to be addressed.
Yeah, and how do you address it? I mean, again, we've got the law that's out there, and I think what it does do, though, is it does bring cultures together, from the interracial marriages and couples, and it does bring. I know award-winning actress Halle Berry, I think in a book that she had wrote, talked about being the product of a black mom, black and white. I'm not sure which one was which, but it talked about that and how it affected her life. So it is something that's nowadays I think more. It happens a lot more today. People from our generation and from before
Cringe.
have got to, yeah, we'll still, they cringe. But, I think we, and at least our generation, at least some people in our generation have grown,
Right.
where it's no longer that issue that it was.
Right. And I'll tell you, coming up, I grew up in a pocket of white neighborhood, and certain things were just unacceptable. Then I moved from this area, and I go down to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I have black friends who are dating the white girls, and all of a sudden, it's a different mindset because they're my friends. Back when I was in my little white pocket, it was just completely against the rules. Now that I know these people as people, okay, my friends as people, now I didn't have a problem with it anymore. And then I was confused. I was like, wait a second, I was brought up not agreeing with this, yet those two are just as happy as any of my white friends that are together, and it just created this really weird state for me, because now all of a sudden this little racist white boy is suddenly looking at this going, wow, why did I even fall into that realm of that?
Now, what did you think about white girls that dated black guys?
We had a word for them. It was called N lovers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it was no. It was like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? What, he's better than me? Are you kidding me? And that was the mentality. And I'm telling you, when I moved and I actually made friends from playing on a basketball team, and my friends were all black, and I got to know these guys, all of a sudden, they're no different than the boys I hung out with in my old white neighborhood. They're people. People are people. And once you start to understand that, then all of a sudden, it really, really F's with your head, because now you're questioning everything that was told to you, everything that was forced on you. And you, as a kid, let me tell you, the worst thing in the world is to teach a kid racism, because kids they adapt, they buy into that stuff. And that's why you see in some of the third world countries, they take these kids and they make them soldiers, because these kids don't know any better. So they go out and they do what they're told. I'm telling you, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and racism is taught. So if you're teaching your kids racism, then they learn it very quickly. And to bring it back to the couples, is it rougher? Is it tougher out there for an interracial couple? Tougher than a non-interracial couple now? It may have been tougher, I think, maybe in the 80s and 90s maybe, than it is today. I think that today's society, today's group, the younger generation has it right. It doesn't matter what your color is. You should be with whoever you want to be with.
But I think that's based on where you are in the country, because there are certain pockets of this country that it is strictly a no. We're not doing that. And if you're caught, I mean, look, I have friends that are in interracial marriages and relationships, and I learn from seeing them how people look at them, and I hear just as much about the blacks, the way they look at the couple, as I do from the whites looking at that couple. So yeah, I agree with you. We're a long ways from back in the 70s and 80s, but there's still this tension that's there.
And there is, because when you see, you can talk about Tiger Woods and
Right.
and all of his blonde-haired girlfriends, and you look and you go, what, he never dated a sister? Really?
Now, is that the way? Is that the way the black?
That's the way the black community will make the comment.
See,
OJ was the same thing.
Right.
OJ was the same thing.
Right.
So it's there in the black community where it's like, okay, so you've ascended to a certain point, and now you figure that you can't go out with the sisters.
But is that the key, that you reach a certain point financially or out there as far as whatever it is, a sport or whatever you're involved in, that you reach a certain plateau and then all of a sudden white women are acceptable?
Well,
I mean,
I think it's more, and that's more with your celebrities, I think. Because there are a lot of just regular people,
Right. Right. Oh, I know.
who are
I know.
interracially
Right.
married. So I think it's more, they're visible, so you can actually comment about them,
Right. Right. Right.
and the entertainers and the sports people. So, where do we go from here? I think we're going in the right direction. I think it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And I think that the kids are doing a lot better because they're among kids
Right.
that are also.
And on that note, my daughter, I raised her. Okay, I come up from a racist background. My views are so effed up that I can't even begin to tell you, because I'm not what I used to be. But I still, in my mind, it's still there. I mean, we grow as we get older. And I've grown tremendously. But I never told my daughter to look at anybody in any other light than a friend. Okay? And that's my way of making the next generation not see what I saw. And what I saw was negative, what I saw was dangerous, was bad, and was just unnecessary. And I've come a long way from where I was once upon a time.
Yeah, and so have I. I've come a long way too, because again, being brought up when we were brought up, neighborhood was primarily, I started off in a primarily black neighborhood and then moved out into a primarily white neighborhood. But again, it's the historical background of who you should be with and who you shouldn't be with and who you could be with. And it was dangerous in many cases to be with. I know that there were people who were killed because they were with, going to someone's house in Staten Island, and it happened to be a white girl, and he's a black guy, and they chase him and they actually kill him. So, it was it's been embedded in you. So, but the now generation, they've got it right. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whoever it is, and it's better now.
So getting back to the whole concept of the children, can't the kids just be black and white? Can't they be half black, half white? Can't they enjoy the mixture of the two cultures?
Well, they should learn, yeah. And I think that they learn the two cultures, and it's just outsiders who decide, oh, well, they're that and they're this, and you have to put it down on a form. Am I black or am I white or am I other?
Right.
And I think that once the institutional America gets over that, then I think everybody else will be.
So instead of other, can we have mixed? And it doesn't have to be black and white. It can be anything.
There's a lot of different. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So why? Again, if we're supposed to go forward, look, we're talking about a gray area. This is what we do. If our intent is to go forward, then what we have to do is we really need to go forward with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and as far as going forward, if we continue to go forward, the right things will happen, and it's going forward in the right way, hopefully.
Right.
And to get back to with Obama as a president, he's a mixed kid,
right?
So it goes right up to the president now,
yep.
and it's headed in the right direction. So I think that we're doing a lot of the right things. It's just making sure society catches up with what's happening.
Right. All right, and on that note, feel free to go to the website and check out, look for any of our up and coming clips, and go ahead and send us a line, send us an email, call us, and